Good evening, I'm Julie Chen.
Wake up, everybody!
But first,
I cannot. On my daughter's birthday. Disgusting. Anybody want cake?
I want to welcome you guys all to my big brother funeral.
Can't find an individual to hate because I hate you all.
Welcome to Not Game, All Personal. Hey, we are a Big Brother podcast here to talk about all things Big Brother, more specifically the events of multiple weeks. The first, 3-4 weeks of season 26. I'm Nathan. This is Tony. Tony, we are back.
Nathan, we are back. Right on time as usual, right?
Yeah, no, as if you're listening to this, you probably already know we are a couple weeks behind. Big Brother used to start much earlier in the summer, so I still blame it on that. In my mind, I'm still like, hey, 4th of July weekend, we should be like in week 3 or 4, but no. So sorry, Big Brother, we got things to do.
So because it started later, we started later to really stick it to them.
We're going to start mid-August.
Yeah.
No, I mean, just a combination of, a lot of various things.
Both of us couldn't do it for a couple weeks last week.
Yeah,
it just didn't feel like it.
It just happened. So we're here. We should be weekly moving forward, okay? I don't think there's any major thing that should derail it. We'll see. Who knows?
Except maybe next week. We'll see. But 2 weeks from now, we'll do it for sure, consistently.
Oh, man. Yeah, but Big Brother's back. I got to say, I'll just say it. The biggest personal thing, I had a second child born the week of the premiere of this season. So that was a curveball. Literally, the cast was announced, I want to say like an hour before this kid was born. So I'm like scrolling my phone there, and I'm like, oh, cool, the cast is up, baby. And then it's like, oh, nope, never mind. So.
And then you named your child Ainsley.
I sure did.
To match in honor of Big Brother 26. That was such a cute thing you did. They should put you on the show.
Yeah, so that being said, my watching habits are much different this season as opposed to other seasons, which in some ways I think I like this season a little better, maybe because of that. I don't know. Where are you at right now with this season? Just a general vibe. How are we feeling? Are we liking what we're seeing so far? Are we optimistic for the rest of it? You excited to podcast about it?
Yeah, not because of a child, but my watching has been a little bit different. Honestly, not having the show has made me not really want or need to watch it. So most of my consumption has been through podcasts.
He doesn't watch the show anymore.
I did tonight, and I did this is the first eviction episode I've seen. If that tells you anything, I think. I saw Matt's. You
didn't even rewatch them.
I didn't have time today. Well, I did, but I also didn't when you texted me. But I've kept track of what's going on in the house for the most part. Honestly, I like a lot of these people, and a couple of them are great, just like Big Brother characters in general. I'm very optimistic.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be optimistic in the early stages of a season a lot of the time, though. So whether or not that will come to fruition, we'll see. But yeah, there's some really fun people in here. There's some lamos. Some of the lamos have gone already, so that's always a good sign, I think.
Subtweet at Kenny. That's my lamo.
Yep.
Why are you on the show? I think we say it every season. The first couple of weeks are always the most exciting as far as like live feeds go. So in that sense, I'm kind of sad. Like I missed some of I've seen clips and whatnot, but I definitely didn't experience the same way I would have. And I think on the other side of it, I think it might be good that we're starting at this point, because I feel like I'm going to have much more to say when talking about this cast than I would if it was just, the cast release and we do an episode about it, or episode 1, week 1, and we do it. Because, I feel like we have a decent idea of a lot of these people now, I actually have opinions on who I think might go far, who I think's going to go out in the next week or two, who I think might be a sleeper pick. I think a lot more of these opinions are formed because we're doing it at this point. But I do think the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be a real tell of how this season goes, because that's usually where things could get set up to be either really exciting or just kind of a bore for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. And for everybody out there, assume it's going to be a bore because that's just the most likely option, and you won't be that upset if once it is. Don't get your hopes up too high. Just a recommendation.
Yeah,
But yeah, we'll be very prepared for the draft that we do at the end of this episode, where we draft a couple players as we always do.
sure.
Huh?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this will be the most prepared we've ever been because we usually do that based on like the uh like premiere, right? I think it's like
Yeah, I think sometimes we let it go a couple episodes. I do think that I don't think I would have picked Lisa or Kenny. So I think I would have been in the clear there. Matt, maybe. I might have gone Matt.
sure.
Depends on when we would have drafted.
Yes, correct. So you'll have that to look forward to, and I definitely have thoughts, opinions. I have a favorite. I have one favorite.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see your thoughts on this.
We haven't
person.
talked to be clear, we haven't talked at all. Like very minimally.
No.
Minimally. We were like, "Hey, what are your takes?" And it was just kind of like Angela's nuts. And that was about all we said because it was like 2 weeks ago.
And I think that was your take.
so-
I don't even think I gave a proper
Yeah.
take. I said I like the season, and then you said Angela's nuts, and that's all I know of what you think.
Yeah. That was just the conversation. Like, I like this season. She's nuts. All right, moving on.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of the theme of the season, some of the twists that are introduced so far. Even though most of them are kind of done, as far as two of the bigger powers are essentially over at this point.
Mhm.
But AI, right? AI, big in the streets. All the kids are talking about it. People love AI right now. So Big Brother
That was
decided to go with
obviously
it.
going to be, yeah, that was obviously going to be the theme. Like, if you really thought about what were they going to do, it was always going to be AI. It was always going to be cheesy and annoying. So it is what it is. You just got to get past
Yeah.
it.
There was also I know you don't watch The Circle, but there was
I watched the Circle. No, I haven't watched the Circle. That's not the one I watched. I watched
was
the
like-
Mole. That's what I watched.
you watched The Mole. Yes, you haven't watched The Circle. I'm fairly
I have
certain.
not.
The newest season that came out a couple months ago, because the premise of The Circle, it's similar to Big Brother, how it's like a social game,
Mhm.
you don't vote people out, like you rank them, and then if you become an influencer, blah blah blah, whatever. But everyone's living separately in rooms, so you don't actually see their faces, so you're just interacting through social media, right? So that's when people like catfish, whatnot. They actually had an AI player on this season, so
Mm.
it was supposedly this, artificial intelligence that was acting like a player. Um, my thing with AI is I feel like anytime you use the term AI, 90% of the time it's not actually AI.
Mhm.
Like when I was watching The Circle, I was like, there is 0% chance that the producers aren't feeding this computer a lot like lines to say to the players. This is not
Yeah.
solely and the same thing with Big Brother. It's like they say AI. I have yet to see AI involved other than it be represented as a person, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
That is
kind of
just
just AI is running the game, and that's the theme. Yeah, it's not. There's no actual AI, of course.
the dumbest nitpick ever, but that's I get it. Last year there wasn't really a multiverse of Big Brother worlds. I
Mhm.
understand that,
That's right. That's what that
but
was
like
last year.
if we're gonna, I don't know. I think I'm just sick of the term AI. That's where I'm at.
That sounds like a fun quiz, or like quiz each other. Like, hey Nathan, what was the theme of Big Brother 13? And just like see if you can remember what these themes were.
Oh gosh. Well, like the themes used to be more generic or broad or less tied to uh a very relevant cultural moment, I feel like. Where now
Yeah.
it's just like what's the buzzword of the year? Last year was multiverse, this year is AI. What was the year before? I genuinely don't even remember because I don't think like I know there's like I can picture like general themes. Like I remember season 19 there was like the tree of temptation and then there was like the serpent
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But like I couldn't tell you like what the like one word theme for that would have been. So I don't think they've really.
Interesting.
Well, I do know season 20 was big on the internet because they had
Yeah,
like
it
the
was like,
hacker.
yep.
They had Tyler had the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Like
There was the robot nonsense.
oh my
Robot
gosh,
Sam.
that
It's a wild thing that they did.
that I
Broke
want
that woman's
why
psyche.
why did
Jeez.
they not bring that robot back this season for the
They
AI?
should have. But that's not AI. That's
It
I
could
mean
have
it
been.
could
They
be. I
they
guess.
could have
Yeah, yeah,
made the
yeah,
robot.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think the biggest twist with this season and the AI is the AI arena, um,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the most drastic changes I think we've seen in a while for eviction night, where there are 3 people up for eviction every single week going into the Thursday night episode. Then the 3 players compete in a competition where one of them will be safe. So, theoretically, going into the actual vote, you're not 100% sure who the 2 nominees will actually be.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what do you think of this twist? Do you think it's helped the season? Is it just kind of another little stupid game they play every Thursday to for these compies? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
You see, I'm kind of torn because there's a part of me that absolutely loves it because it's something new. It's a new wrinkle that they have to account for. The idea of like planning out, okay, this person will vote for this person to go if it's these two, but if it's these two, we're gonna vote for this person to go, and like having to think out that stuff is very fun to watch. And it keeps us on our toes. It makes the Thursday night episode worth watching because a lot of
Yeah,
the times it
I'd
was
agree.
like I know who's going, so like I'll watch it because see if there's anything crazy that happens with the buzzwords or like the one time when Julie was like, we don't know what's going on in there, everything's popping off like
Mhm.
that. That's the only time that it's ever been exciting watching the that episode. And even then, we knew they weren't going to show us any footage of that, so it didn't ultimately matter. We just saw the result of the fighting.
Right.
Anyways, I digress. So I love that aspect of it. The part that I
Uh,
don't like is the fact that it's like, okay, now you get 3 opportunities to like stay in the game throughout the week. And it's not always 3 because you might not play in Veto and then you get put up and then you get the opportunity to in the AI challenge. But it's another opportunity, yes, for these challenge beasts to dominate, which they have for years. And so it's just that's not ideal, but man, is it fun. It's really fun. It is.
yeah.
It's enjoyable to watch.
I feel like I share almost the exact same thoughts, which I think makes sense because I feel like after years of talking to you about this show, we have similar ways of looking
Very
at it.
similar. Yep.
Because yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think perhaps Tucker could be a good example of this. Of like
Mm-hmm.
he might just win everyone that he's put in. It's
Mm-hmm.
possible, you know. I will say, as far as that goes, I think my hopes were higher at the beginning because I think it was like the first 3 competitions. Um, wait, who won the veto the first week? Was that
Um.
Lisa, or did Lisa
Yeah,
win the next week?
Lisa won it. I'm pretty sure.
And then who
That
won
sounds
it
right.
last week?
Uh,
Yeah, so
it was
Lisa
Lisa, then
won.
Kenny, and now Tucker this week.
Yes, okay, correct. So for like the first 3 competitions, it was Angela, Lisa, and then Chelsea, which I forget that it set some like I don't not record, but it was like the first time that like a season opened with that many female wins in like a long time, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that was like a refresher from like last year, the year before. Now I'm not sure. It's definitely balanced out now that we've had 3 guy wins in a row and 2 guys, the same guy, I guess, win the AI arena. Well, I guess all only guys have won the AI arena so far.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, yes, I think the comp piece is something to look out for. And I think, like, let's say Tucker does another week. I think then we, kind of have to send the alarm and saying, like, hey, this might be a little broken just to protect people like him. However, I do agree it makes these episodes so much more valuable to consume live because even like not knowing who the final 2 is going to be, even like on a night like tonight where we
Mm-hmm.
weren't even sure who that nominee was going to be that we all apparently voted for, so like that was
Yeah.
exciting. um I think it does prevent house guests from like having a boring vote, and it causes them to potentially make more blind sides because we don't want to out that we're going to vote for you in case you win and then save yourself. So it's like they need to be much more subtle, and I think it kind of worked. Tonight was a boring vote, but the past like last week was a big blind side, and you should
Mm-hmm.
at least watch that part because Lisa was stunned. She had no
Mm-hmm.
idea, and it's because they didn't want to tell her because they didn't want to risk her staying in the house after winning the competition. So I think
Yeah.
there are a lot of positives to it, and
Yeah.
I'm glad
Ooh.
that Big Brother is doing something. And I'll even say, I do think this could lead to different strategies developing, and I would even argue that, which we'll talk about in a bit, we need to talk about in a bit, Tucker's move this week of not using the veto
Mm-hmm.
on himself was only because he knew he had the best chance of winning the AI arena. Like, if
Yeah.
the AI arena doesn't happen, he doesn't do that move. And was it a dumb move? Maybe, maybe not. We'll get to it, but it's causing players to play a little bit different than they have before. So if nothing else, I'm glad that Big Brother's experimenting with it.
Mm-hmm. And it adds in a couple wrinkles. One that you mentioned, it causes blind sides because you don't want to tell somebody because they might just win the arena and be fine. So you're not going to tell anybody. Um, it also just takes away, which is great. I love that. It also takes away the way to get past a challenge beast, and that's the back door. Like you can't really backdoor anyone. So that's another like part where it's frustrating where you can just win your way to the end. It's still really hard, and not many people are able to do it. So well, I guess in Big Brother it's more common than maybe like Survivor. Um, but yeah, I think those are two interesting things. But ultimately, this isn't sustainable once you get to final 8, final like 10 in that range, because then you can't have three, like that's so many people in the house on the block. It just gets more complicated. So I feel like it's only going to last until maybe week 5, maybe week 6, and then once they get jury, then it goes back to normal. But even that, to spice up the early game, you have to nominate more people. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and as you were saying that, I did have the thought because I think like Big Brother is in a way a game that you can kind of win your way to the end, but I also think it's a combination of that along with the very boring big alliance that people hide in. It's the like I think last year, like Jack definitely it was a comp game that he won, right? He just won
Mm-hmm.
every single comp. But however, he also had a partner that was winning them too. So I would love I think I'd be curious to see a season where there was actually someone who was completely on an island, no allies, no alliances, and they actually had to win. Because like Jag did
Mm-hmm.
have a couple weeks where he lost, but he was just too protected, or people just didn't want to make those moves. Whereas like
Yeah.
Tucker, and again, it's so early on, but right now it feels like Tucker is isolated. At least how so like if he were to actually do that for a couple weeks, I don't think I would be as upset because one, I don't think it'd be sustainable to win the game, but I think like the result of that would mean other people going home instead of him and people trying to target him,
Mm-hmm.
missing, targeting, missing, and then having to do others. So like I don't know. I think like that could be more exciting than what we've seen before, where it's like 2 or 3 people in an alliance that just share the wins.
Yeah, it's one in this kind of game, one person has like the majority of the power that week. And so if that one person just alternates between 2 or 3 people that are in an alliance, you're never going to get anything done. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I buy it. I'm in.
great. Glad you're on my side.
I thought that was the best way to end that sentence.
Let's
Thoughts?
talk about the 2 big powers that were in play this season. One we already saw. One I'm assuming we'll see next week. Am I
He swore that he wasn't going to use it. So I don't know.
Okay, so Mackenzie won the first power. That was America's Veto, which she used this week, so I don't really have to explain it too much other than the fact that took herself off the block. We all voted for Quinn to go back on. Did you vote? I didn't vote.
No.
No, I didn't.
I didn't
I
feel that I knew enough to do it.
I probably would have voted for Quinn, but it seemed like everyone was doing that already. Like every social media I opened up, it seemed like that was a consensus, so I didn't really feel necessary to me
Mm-hmm.
pile on. But I don't know.
That's fair.
I could have been the 5 millionth and one vote. Sure. Right?
He had 5 million votes.
That's what Julie said.
Like 5 million votes for him, or 5 million votes total.
I think total.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Which that's a lot of votes.
It's a lot of votes.
I don't know if
But people probably voted multiple times.
yeah, I think you can vote up to 10 times. I don't know how regulated it is, like if you had to like make an account for every 10 votes or something. I don't know. The point is that that was the one power. The second power that Quinn has that now everyone knows about is that he gets to take over someone's HOH. It should have been a secret. Like theoretically, this power allows him to do that without anyone knowing who did it. But you know, it's Big Brother, so we had to tell everyone everything.
You whisper it to a couple people, and then everybody knows. That's just how it goes.
Yeah,
Same
I
thing
mean, it
happened to
is.
Mackenzie.
It is insane how he literally told two people, and somehow it caused a house meeting. Obviously, like a lot of dominoes in between then, but I guess I never really processed how similar it is to like Survivor in that way. Where I think we talk about this every season of Survivor, where it's like
Yeah.
advantages just aren't secret anymore. Like once you have it, like it's just public knowledge to everyone. Like is that just a new trend in reality TV now that we're dealing with?
Mm-hmm. Unless you're real close with somebody, and I think that's what we always wanted, because I think in early seasons, like there's just this blind loyalty to the alliance, and you enjoy those people who like jump back and forth and kind of pave their own way. But now everybody's doing that, which in turn makes it this, so that if somebody gives you a second to think that you don't trust them right now, you're gonna tell somebody like, oh, and you know they have the idol, or you know they have this power, and then it just shuts everything else down.
Yeah. I gotta say though, I mean, telling Angela week one, just probably not the best move, right?
No, awful move. I would actually argue.
I just
Like, if there's anybody not to tell, it's probably her.
I understand she's the week one HOH, but like, can we at least let the days play out before we just form a final two with her and tell her everything?
We've said it's probably good to win the first week HOH. Like that's kind of where we landed after the many years of being like, don't win it. Read the room and be like, should I tell this person who does not seem like they're handling this house very well? No, probably not.
Well, here's my question, and I think we talked about this last year. Do we still think that's the case of wanting to win week one HOH? Because the past few seasons, so last season it was Riley who went home the week after. The year before it was Daniel. Remember Daniel? Ooh, I don't like Daniel. He went home pre-jury. Not the second week, but I think it was like fourth maybe or something. And the year before was Frenchie, who also went home the week after he won HOH. So we're definitely seeing a trend of that not being as good. Now, I'm not ready to say it's like bad. I just think the way I would word it now is week one is really good as long as you have the emotional stability to ride it out and cuz like it just hasn't been good. Like it's insane how many weeks, and who knows, maybe Angela wins the game. Like she's still in this season, so like she could prove me wrong. But it's not looking great. You know, I don't think winning that first week of HOH helped her at all.
I wouldn't bet my money on it. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I still would want to say it matters the person who it is that's winning it, because I think Frenchie came in and wanted to play too hard too fast. I think Angela came in, played too hard too fast. I think Daniel came in and played too hard too fast. Riley, I can't even really fully remember what happened with Riley last year.
Riley's thing was she tried to do the thing that you're typically supposed to do in the modern age, is like form a big alliance, and then that got ratted out, and that's when the professors kind of took over, because they had like 2 or 3 weeks in a row where they got rid of the big alliance.
And Heisem, I think, was like obsessed with getting her out for some reason.
Yes, and then
because she said one wrong thing to one person, and then the only thing he wanted to do was get her out. at the expense,
Yes.
literally, of his own game. So, but
Well, then in turn, he did the play too hard, too fast, and then so she should really be week 0, and he should be the week 1 that is in trend with all these other people.
honestly, honestly, and so I look at it, and I mean, it's a really lame answer. I think it just depends on the player. Like,
Boo.
I know it's so lame, but if you come in and you like kind of let the game come to you, and you don't have to try to do too much. Like, yes, you want to talk to people, yes, you want to give people an opportunity, but yeah, I don't know. The players that are making up the like not being great at this aren't great players, and so that's not stunning to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's fair. It's just, if it happens in another season, I'm going to bring it up again, and I'm going to say, Tony, we got to reevaluate once again, because it's bizarre how bad these seasons have been when it comes to week 1 HOHs.
If you line up these week 1 HOHs, do you think they would have been successful had they not won first week HOH?
Oh,
So
that's a
going Daniel,
great
Frenchie,
question.
Angela, and
I
Riley.
think Riley would be the best if she
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the one that was theoretically in charge of that person alliance. I don't know.
I
It's
think
hard
for
to
her,
tell.
it was too much pressure immediately.
I
Like, it was just suddenly, I have to
think
make these decisions.
right. I would say, I mean, impossible to know, obviously, but I think part of them kind of spiraling had to do with just so much power so fast, right? Where like you're forced to like have to be the leader of this house. And
Mm-hmm.
so like yes, I think there are people that handle it much better, you know? But I would like to think maybe if they had another 2 or 3 weeks of like being on the bottom, or maybe just feeling it out, trying to get a grip for where the game is, maybe they would be better, you know? I I don't know. I'm not convinced, like, I don't know. Like, I just think of Daniel, you know? Like, he was just like not great at social game, you know? Like,
No.
just kind of blowing up. Uh Frenchie would probably be like my biggest hope, like, oh, maybe there was something there, and if he just didn't have the
I think,
power,
yeah.
he could learn. But that was also the season of the cookout, so who's to say
Yeah.
how any of that
And
pans out?
he had like he was playing the early game weird. Some of the like, hey, I feel like he was like, I want a woman to win, and like trying to pull all the girls, and like, I want to work with the girls, which is a fine move, but also kind of weird. I don't know. It was like
Well,
some of the stuff that he was doing was kind of odd, I think.
here's my prediction. Here's my theory. Okay, because Frenchie was a super fan to the extent of like, I mean, Twitter, Reddit, like a super fan,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think sometimes when you get those like super fans, not just like, you know, the people who say they are like, oh, I've watched every season since season 16, like the ones who are actually in the comment section, I think there is this temptation to want to put on a show, you know, because you know what people
Yeah.
want, and I think that almost causes like someone like Frenchie to be like, I want a woman win. Like that sounds great on Twitter, right? To like
Mm-hmm.
see a player who's championing females, right? Like that's like people
Absolutely.
they love that.
On paper, not a bad thing in general. Like, that's cool.
No,
Sure,
yes,
man.
yes, of course, obviously, but like the almost like virtue signaling, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's what I'll say about this season. I think Quinn might be very similar because
Yeah.
every clip I see, everything I see of him, that man is very online in the Big Brother community. He knows what to say.
Mm-hmm.
He's shouting out specific Big Brother podcasts, not ours yet, maybe, I don't know. But like he knows what the fans want, and I do think that is affecting his game and perhaps causing him to go a little too hard at times. So I think it's a curse
Yeah.
sometimes to have that much knowledge in this game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. We've had that conversation so many times. Moving forward. What else is there? So the two powers. We have I actually like the deep fake HOH. I really like that
Yeah.
name. I think that's clever. And then America's Veto. What do you think about the two of them? How would you rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 as twists go?
I think in theory the HOH one is very powerful as long as you don't tell anyone, You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think, but honestly, I wouldn't mind having Mackenzie's because there is such little backlash to that, only because she doesn't have to actually nominate someone. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that one is cool in the sense where it's completely defense. Nobody can be mad at you for playing that one, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if someone finds out that you hijacked their HOH, that's bad news. But if someone finds out, like, oh, you wanted to use the veto on yourself, that's fine, right? No blood on her hands. And in fact, and I really hope this happens this week, they try to do something with the information of who America voted for, because I think there is something telling about that, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's fun. Like, I would love to be in the house and kind of get it like, hey, America, who do you want out of this house? Like, what do you, you know? So I think I would prefer that power of the two.
Yeah. The deep fake one could be super cool, but it's way too much risk reward, and then like the amount of acting that you have to do, and you can't do too much because then it's obvious that it's you. Like that is such a challenge. And so yeah, it's a no-brainer to just have this defensive veto that once everybody knows you have it and they put you up so that you play it. Oh darn, like you had to play it, whatever. And then everybody kind of moves on. Yeah, it's such low risk. I would almost argue too low risk. Like it's such an it's such a discrepancy between the power level of the powers and the
Yeah.
risk level of the powers that isn't ideal, but also it's fun. I mean, it was fun to see how, and I really hope Quinn does take over this week because I just think that'll be interesting.
Does it expire this week? I'm trying to
I
see.
in the first couple weeks it's supposed to. I'm pretty sure.
Um, looking right now. Not seeing an expiration date yet.
Quinn is the first American contestant whose name starts with Q.
Was there
Sorry, I
a
found a fun fact. I
non-American
thought
contestant, or like the American season, like the
an
series,
American
or
season. I don't know. It just specified it. There must be one in other seasons.
okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see. I'm sure it's coming, but yeah, I'm. Can we talk about Quinn's power? Is this a good time to go through some
Yeah.
of those events? uh, cause basically it feels like he's promising that he's gonna use it now that it's exposed, but before it was exposed, he wasn't going to use it, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that logic should be opposite in a way, right? Of I was gonna use it, but now that you know about it, now I won't, and now he's pulling the opposite. I don't know. It's odd. Um,
I think that makes like the way that he's doing it makes complete sense to me.
how
Like
so?
oh, I'm not like I wasn't planning on using it. Like I wasn't gonna try to like screw you guys over. But now that it's out there and I'm getting targeted because of it, but even if it's by one person, like I'm gonna make sure I'm not targeted next week. And if that means using this power so I no longer have it and I'm not a threat, that's what I'm gonna do. So I would like be like, I'm gonna use it. Angela's gonna be my target. It's gonna be I'm gonna try to ruffle as few feathers as possible. Like I have to do this.
Yeah, I guess
Like
it.
if I hold on to it, that's just not. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say like, oh, it expires, but I don't. I guess maybe you could get away with that, but he's still gonna be targeted because he has it, and then so
Yeah,
I.
I think what helps a lot is that there are still two rather obvious targets in Angela and now
Mm-hmm.
Tucker. Although he will need a third, so that might be tough. Because
Just put up whoever one
Kenny's
of them is
gone.
closest to.
It'll probably be Mackenzie, honestly. I feel like she's
Yeah,
on the outs, but yeah, I guess because
that's
like
the biggest thing. Just real quick, that's the biggest thing with three nominees. Is it even more goes into the like, once you're nominated, you're an easy nomination again. And so you're just gonna have these people who are just put up repeatedly just because they've been put up before. So if you find
yeah,
yourself on the block early, you're probably not gonna win because you're not gonna make it very far.
sure, yeah. Unless you're Jag and you get voted out, then come back.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna happen. Yeah, oh man, I'm so fascinated to see what he does with it. What are your overall thoughts on Quinn? Because I feel like he has gotten some of the most airtime. I deservedly probably, you know. I think his DRs are very energetic and he is involved in a lot of the core plot line of the edits, but I don't know. Are you into his game, or do you kind of sick of his shtick? Like, seems like a lot of America is for voting him up.
I think he's annoying. I think he's really fun for the game as a whole. Like
Mhm.
I saw, and this extends to Tucker as well, where like they're angry at each other and clearly targeting each other, and yet they're still just like chatting and cracking jokes in the background tonight when the vote was announced, and they're like joking around and like being friendly with each. Like they're able to play the game and be like very serious about what their intents are in the game, but also not just take it super personally. And like even his speech tonight was a lot, and it was super energetic, and it might have been seen as annoying. There were some funny like jokes in there, and there were some jabs, but also some like actual reasoning as to why he should be the one to stay. So like there's stuff like that where it's like there's something there. And so yeah, it's a love-hate kind of thing where he's annoying, but I enjoy him being there because I think he brings a fun, like good gameplay element, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I can get behind that. I don't love his game, and I think there's part of me that like kind of wanted to see him go just to see what other people would do without him. Because I
Mhm.
think there are times where you have this very uh extroverted personality that kind of dominates a lot of the strategy. So I do,
Mhm.
which perhaps balanced out this week with him being so exposed. I think before this, he was definitely in everyone's corner, kind of intertwined within multiple alliances.
Mhm.
Um, and so I don't know. It's fascinating to see how poorly his game has gone so fast.
Yeah.
And I think if he can recover, it'll be very exciting to watch. But also, if he continues to spiral and goes out in the next, probably not next week, but like the 2-3 weeks, I think that'll also be exciting. So I think like either
Mhm.
way, I think his personality is really suited for like a show like this, because he's, again, I think like just playing in a more bold way compared to other players that we've seen in previous seasons.
Yeah, and that just seems like that's how he is. He's just out there and ready to go. Feels like he knows Big Brother, and so that brings a level of confidence. And people talked about tonight, like he's been teaching people the game, which makes yourself a target, but like also makes you kind of valuable. Like people want you around. So it's not the worst move in the world.
Yeah. Yep. No, I completely agree. Let's. I want to talk about Tucker though, because Tucker is
Let's do it.
another standout. I really like Tucker. Just gonna
Hmm.
say it. I really like Tucker. I'm in. I'm a fan.
I
I want
didn't
more.
until tonight watching the episode, and then I was like, oh, this is fun. Like he's freaking out. He's yelling at people. He's doing like blowing things up. But then yeah, like watching him joke around with Quinn and them like laughing together in the background. It's like, but he's not taking it too seriously. And
Yeah.
like just like be like, yeah, I'll win the AIA competition, like or AI competition. Like that cockiness is a very fun thing to see in Big Brother. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe I'm a hypocrite because I always complain about the compies, but it feels different because the way that he's like to put yourself in that position. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Is this only the third time where someone has used the veto on someone else while on the block? I remember season 3, obviously, historically. And then Dick
I think
did
he
it
just didn't use
for.
the veto in season 3.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that he played it on somebody else. I think he just didn't use
I
it.
think you're right. I think you're right. Um,
Yeah.
either way, okay. So if you have the veto on the block and then don't use it on yourself, how about that? So there
Yeah.
was that one. And then Dick used it on Danielle in season
Mm-hmm.
8 instead of himself. And I think that's it. I really should have
It's
looked
not.
this up.
Yeah,
It's not?
it's not common for
Yeah.
sure. Are you
And
googling it?
I,
I can.
I'm browsing. I don't really care that much. But my
Okay,
point
that's
is
fair.
my point is it historically has like always been like the wrong move, right? Like you don't ever do
Mm-hmm.
that. Probably similar to like Survivor where it's like you just don't give up your immunity.
Mm-hmm.
Unless there is one more way to be safe. And I think we saw that in Survivor 38 when Chris gave up his immunity for the sake of going to fire and then winning, right? That's kind of how it felt with Tucker in this way, because before there was a backup plan to the veto was like the last resort of getting safe. And so
Mhm.
now that I think that's removed, it kind of eliminates this being a terrible move for him, you know? And again, I think like if he loses the AI arena and goes home this week, then I think this goes back to being like historically a bad move. Like if you have the veto, always use it on yourself. But
Yeah.
I love that he's old enough, maybe stupid enough to try out this cocky strategy of being like, I'm going to use this on Angela, of all people, just to make you all mad because I know you want to vote her out.
Yeah. And honestly, it makes people want to work. Like in a way, I would want to work with him because people are gonna want him out before they want you out every day of the week. I guess it puts you in the line of fire when he keeps saving himself, though. So maybe not. Maybe I'd have to think about it a little bit more.
True.
After I think about it for a second, I'm like, maybe not a good
Yeah,
idea.
but if you and him go on the block, he uses the veto on you and then continues to win the AI
True.
arena.
He always does that. He always does that.
He's 100% when he goes in. Yeah.
He's got this chaotic energy that like, and I don't know if he just looks like Zach Rance, but it reminds me of Zach Rance in a way, like just how wild
I've
and like
seen that comparison, yeah.
how he feels, and it's gotta be more the look because Zach is definitely more lovable. Because I don't like Tucker like as a person. I enjoy him as a Big Brother player, and so there's like that distinction where Zach's objectively a bad Big Brother player, but he's just so much fun to watch.
But he's a good person.
Uh, Maybe I don't know.
I don't know any Big Brother player personally enough to make that distinction.
That's fair.
I don't...
That's very fair.
Who else do you want to talk? Do you want to go player by player, or should we just do a quick? I don't know. There's obviously some that we won't have many thoughts on.
Those are some of the big ones. I will say last thing on Tucker. I don't think Tucker is super
Yeah.
alone at this point. Um,
Well,
like yeah, he's
got a
putting himself
couple.
out there as like a big target, but he definitely still has people who want to work with him. And so I think he's gonna be all right. I don't think he's gonna be that lone soldier that we kind of would like to see go on a run.
Yeah, I'll be very curious because I think if it does end up being a combination of him, Angela, and someone else on the block, I do think Angela would go before him still, even
Mm-hmm.
if it's the two of them left on eviction night. I think as chaotic as he is, his chaos seems more based on other factors compared to Angela. You know, Angela seems chaotic in the sense where is this coming from? You're just
Mm-hmm.
playing an explosive game for the sake of it. Where at least he has some logic, even if it doesn't add up, even if he might
Mm-hmm.
be incorrect about what Cedric actually said to him. He's coming from that place, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think if you're somewhere in the middle, as long as you're not Quinn or Cedric, all these other people shouldn't have an issue working with Tucker, right? Because you know who his targets are. If Quinn and
Yeah.
Cedric are in the game, Tucker will go for them if he's HOH. You know, if you're
Mm-hmm.
Joseph, Chemo, uh, even if you're I don't know Cam, Brooklyn, like do they actually have to worry about him? I would think not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. And yeah, it opens it up more, and I don't know. It's so much fun. I find it very very interesting. I have one more thing about Tucker, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, do you think he's like making up that he doesn't remember what he said or doesn't remember Cedric saying that, or do you think he
Oh, that's
genuinely didn't
interesting.
hear it?
Uh, I want to believe that he genuinely doesn't remember, only because his reaction to Cedric not doing the move seemed. I don't know if he could make that up. Like
Okay,
that's a strong
that's fair.
acting job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, that'd be really smart, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those things where I think like when you're having a conversation with someone and like it's just one thing that's said where what did Cedric say? Like take yourself off, right? That was
Yeah,
kind of like the
use it
key
on yourself.
phrase. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's such like a brief thing to say. So if they're having a 20-minute conversation and that's is said once, in Cedric's mind that could be like, "Oh, I definitely 100% that was the whole conversation." And if Tucker just is focusing on another part, like I don't know, I feel like that happens all the time in just daily conversations
Mm-hmm.
in real life. So it doesn't it doesn't surprise me that It was said, and Tucker also probably wasn't listening to that part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. We should talk about Angela. I think she's an important one to talk about.
She's very important.
She's also number one on the list that I have, but we should talk about Angela.
I like Angela as a Big Brother personality.
Yeah, as the chaotic energy is more fun for me than when I was watching the episode. I did actually watch the episode. That she like was pacing in her room by herself, concocting this like he
Yeah.
threatened me. I was like, oh my gosh, this woman is insane. And like I think she's a little out there. I don't think she's insane, of course. But like, yeah, it's been interesting to see how she's like navigated the house since then. Don't really know if she has any real allies, but she's like a fun person to not like, honestly. It sucked because did I think Matt was gonna be awesome? Not necessarily. Did I think he was a really interesting game player? Not necessarily. It was a rough go of it for him, and I felt bad about that. And like the way he handled it, I feel like was super mature. So that sucked. But yeah, she's entertaining to keep around for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in a lot of ways like she is the type of person I want to see on this show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when you talk about like I don't know, I feel like old school Big Brother that was kind of the premise in a way. Like just take like these complete diverse set of personalities, stick them all together and see what happens. And I feel like that's kind of what it was, you know? And so like
Mm-hmm.
for her and Matt who would normally never interact ever, you know, like let's have them
Mm-hmm.
confront each other over essentially nothing. like uh yeah, so I don't know. I'm really glad she's still in the house, but you're right, she has zero allies as shown by
Mm-hmm.
last week when she was blindsided with the fact that she stayed in the house when
Yeah.
the vote
Who wouldn't
was
tell her that?
oh gosh, what was the vote? It might have been unanimous.
It was
Oh,
pretty rough. Let's see.
no, 3 people.
No,
Oh, wait.
one person voted for Angela. Everybody else
Okay.
voted Lisa.
There you go. Oh, yeah, it was Kenny. That was right.
Yeah.
What a loser. I'm done with Kenny. Just don't play the game. Don't waste a good week just to have a boring
Yeah. I
Uh,
know, but like Angela and Tucker feel like throwback Big Brother players to me, which is the most fun part about them.
yeah, I would say so. I would say between them, even Quinn to an extent, you know, I think
Yeah.
just anyone who's playing a game that's not this, I don't know, boring, like let me just hide in the background, which I get it. Like that's how you win the game. Like a lot of these people, I think, are in very good positions because they're not really doing anything right now. It's
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate, but that's how it is. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I'm glad that we have Angela. I'm glad she is isolated. She's been getting a lot of hate online. I don't know if you keep up with the Big Brother Facebook group, but man, do they not like
People
her.
trying to get her fired from her job and stuff. Like, come on.
They, I mean, it's no surprise, but like, and it happens on Survivor every single season, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
have this, like, the archetype of this young male who I don't know, like basically Matt, right? It was Jonathan a couple years ago on Survivor. It's always these people that like for whatever reason, these Facebook people love them. And so when she was going after Matt, I mean, they were like contacting CBS to try to get her kicked off because apparently she was like bullying and that's against the rules. Like she was crossing too many lines. It was like,
He
what are
said
you people talking
she
about?
said he had like crazy eyes, and people were like, "Get her fired, get her executed, call the
Well,
coroner. We need to kill
I
this woman." Like it
I
was
don't
bad.
I don't want to get into it too much because I hate these conversations. Oh, that's funny. On his wiki, his nickname is Crazy Eyes. But because
It's
he
funny.
is trying to look it up, I think he's Filipino. Is that correct? Half
That
maybe.
sounds right. Yeah, I think he said that.
So because of that, people took Angela's comment of Crazy Eyes as racist because
No,
commenting on Asian eyes, which
no.
Yeah,
Most
dude,
people looking for something to be offended by. Come on.
people are crazy. I don't.
Just it-
He's got crazy eyes, right? Like,
It's the like wide-eyed, like he's got that like look with the wide eye, like. I don't want to move on.
that's
I'm
what I said.
mad.
I didn't want to bring it up, but like I had to because it's that absurd.
Yeah.
uh, who just list me off some of your other people that you have things to say about, because there's a lot I
Okay.
don't. Can I say the people I don't have anything to say about?
Yeah, which is crazy because we just said that we're 3 weeks in, so we have opinions on people we wouldn't usually have opinions on, and then half of them we don't have opinions on.
Well, okay, let me
Um,
clarify though, because I think even not having an opinion on them is telling, because there's some people
Yeah.
where the cast is announced and I'm like, this person's going to go far or this person's going to be the center. Like, my opinion on them is that they're going to be pretty boring this season.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Alright.
say
I could
the
live with
biggest
that.
one for me is Cam. Cam's giving me nothing.
Yeah.
What is his thing? Is that Leah likes him, right? Is that the thing? Or he
Yeah.
likes Leah? One of the two?
He likes Leah.
That's all
You
we
got the
know.
little Love Island chart on this thing that I sent you.
Dude, CBS is so desperate to get a showmance that they're making a segment about how there's no showmances. Like that,
Honestly.
you might have missed that episode if you didn't watch it. But there was a whole segment of like trying to see, because it was like Chelsea likes Cam, but Cam likes Leah, but Leah's kind of into Tucker, and then Rubina. Like, it was a whole segment how there's no showmances because everyone likes the wrong person. And it was such a waste of time. And I'm like, CBS, just
Mhm.
let it go. Just let it go that there might not
It's like-
be your golden showmance this year.
There's real things happening. Can we please talk about them? Please?
Please. There's exciting things happening. And unfortunately they don't involve Cam. So that's one for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think Tucker and Rubina, I think, is looking like it's starting to be a thing, at least from the stuff that I've seen. But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with no showmances. They're always going to try to make it a thing, even if it's not. But yeah, Cam isn't super interesting to me. Brooklyn isn't super interesting. I think she's in some good like alliances and in good with a bunch of people, which is always valuable. But
Yeah.
I don't see a ton there. Do you see a ton with Brooklyn?
Not initially, but I agree that I think she is in enough that there could be something there to come. I think she is
Mm-hmm.
not playing the game where other people previous seasons in her position, I think, were like, oh, they're just not even playing. But for her, I think
Yeah.
she's having conversations. They're just not as
Yeah.
exciting at the moment. So she's
That's a good
she's
way
a
to put it.
yellow for me. Like, she could be green soon
Mm-hmm.
as I make up
That's
a
fair.
color system for how I rank players on the
Hey,
spot.
that's perfect. That's perfect. You know who I really, really enjoy? I'm just going alphabetical because that's how Wikipedia has given me their names.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm a big fan of Cedric and Chelsea.
Okay, like the two of them together, or just like you're just listening?
Both of them individually, but
Okay.
also like the fact that they're a duo working together is super great.
Yeah.
I thought Cedric, the way that he handled the like, okay, so he's getting bombarded by everybody, like, oh, what was the plan? What was the plan? Him going, like trying to figure out an out wasn't great. But the fact that he was like, you know what, let's do this all together. Hey, Tucker, what was the plan? Tell him. And like completely like taking himself out of it and being like, Tucker, you tell them. I love that. And then Tucker being the one that outs Quinn and like all of this, I think that was great. It took a lot of the like the view off of him. Like I said, it wasn't perfect because he had to do the like, I don't know, should I tell you stuff, but
Yeah.
I loved that. Chelsea, I was a fan of from like the first episode. I feel like there's something there. I feel like she's gonna be solid. And I feel like she doesn't have an enemy in the house that I've seen. But yeah, those two I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, I think I'm a fan of Cedric, but I don't think the game is quite there. Because I mean, I honestly I would describe this week almost as bad as you could have with an HOH. Almost. I think like
He's not like going into next week as a clear target. Like I feel like we've seen worse HOHs
he
this
is for
season.
one person.
For
which I
one
think-
person.
Which is enough. I think ideally you don't have any enemies, which if
He's
if we're
going into
talking
a
about
yeah,
Chelsea and Cedric,
ideally.
like Chelsea had the perfect HOH week.
Yeah.
No blood, no flaws. I think in my to me, I think Cedric almost did too much with the. And again, maybe it wasn't all his fault because a lot of it was Tucker coming to him and like proposing this plan. But it just feels like, and I think a lot of it is like he is, I think, the youngest in the house. Like he's
He's
21.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, oh gosh, he's born on 9/11, 2002. Wow.
Yeesh.
The 1 year memorial, man, that's tough. Uh, so I don't know. I feel like that's part of it. Like I can see his age a lot of times when he's interacting with people like Tucker or other house guests, where
Mm-hmm.
I think he needs to be a little more bold when it comes to these conversations. Where I think there's a time and place to like compose yourself and not react, but at the same time, I think if he was more authoritative from the beginning, this plan would have never been entertained, where
Mm-hmm.
it felt like he was trying to make everyone happy. And luckily, it didn't go as bad as it could be, but in some ways, he got exposed for playing multiple sides, because even though Tucker
Yeah.
was the one that outed Quinn's power, I don't think it's unnoticed. Because I mean, even Mackenzie turned to Cedric and was like, "Wait, so like there was a plan, and I was the backup." You know what I mean? Like, I think there are people that noticed him this week, and so I want to root for him, but like I'm just not confident that like he has what it takes to like maneuver all these social dynamics.
That's fair. I think he has. I think it'll help having. I don't know. Maybe I'm putting too much stock in Chelsea, but I feel like she knows what she's doing. I do think he made the right decision. I think going for Tucker in that moment, and it sucks because from the information he had, I think sticking with Tucker or sticking with um Quinn was the move, honestly. But now, like Quinn's probably feels alone and is going to start outing the alliance anyway. So like that's like kind of a downside to it. But um, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the decision I would have settled on most likely.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of went back and forth, and I don't know like what the best move would have been. Because I do think his biggest strength right now is he is well protected by a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it is Tucker, and maybe some other people notice him. But like Chelsea and um, even like Cam and like Joseph, like he has
Mm-hmm.
these people that he has good relationships with. Where yeah, I don't know. I think that's also the case for Quinn right now because if you do put Quinn on
Mm-hmm.
the block this week, Quinn is also well protected. So could you even have the votes if you did want to blindside him like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Keeping it moving because we're going a little long. Joseph, any takes on Joseph?
So Joseph is my favorite right now.
Really, not a Joseph guy.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
I think he has what it takes. I really do. To me, I think he is what Quinn thinks and wants to be when it comes to this super fan. I just think Joseph is playing it correctly right now. Not exciting, okay? Like a really boring edit right now,
Yeah, that's kind of what you got to do.
but I would go all in to say he is going to make it pretty far.
I don't know. Based on the limited stuff that I've seen, I don't know how much other people in the house trust or are really riding with Joseph. So that would be my biggest concern with him. I think he thinks he's doing better than he is. And I think that, and this could be completely unfounded and I could be wrong because I haven't dove in super deep on all of this, obviously. But that's the vibe I get from him. I don't love his mustache. That could be a huge part of it. It might just make me not trust him. I'm willing to admit that. This is honesty here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a Joseph guy.
Is there something specifically he did that you think he's not a good place? Because I would say he's in a great place with pretty much everyone in the house.
I think he's in a fine place in that I don't think he's people's like top targets, but I don't know that he gives me the vibe of somebody that like everybody trusts and everybody wants to work with. I think when it if you had to choose between him and like a couple, I don't know. I just don't think he's anybody's number one from what I've seen, which I could be wrong. Like obviously, looking at this chart, there's people who have him
I was gonna say
in
he
final
definitely
two, so that's
has
probably
final twos.
yeah. I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if
I
I buy
think
it.
I think a lot of it I base off of week 1,
Mm-hmm.
where he was almost the sole source to Angela of ratting out Matt, and the way
Mm-hmm.
that he went about those events, learning information from both sides, choosing to share it with her, and then going and telling, like, to me, it was done so well to the point where people don't even realize that he kind of set that off. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that is something that nobody talks about. That is something that, like, didn't even really get highlighted in the edit. And to me, I'm like, that is the exact way you make something happen, because he
Mm-hmm.
saw an outlet and he wanted to make sure it's like, hey, I know this information. I need to tell this now, one, so that it doesn't come back that I did know about it. Where again, I think like Chemo's a good example where he knew information, didn't say it soon enough, so now he got caught in keeping Quinn's secret from other people,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I think like to me, like that's an example, like Joseph did that. And so like I don't know, maybe I'm putting too much stock in that one move, but to me, this is the exact position I would want to be in for this part of the season where he's got a couple final twos. I don't know how real any of them are. He's in some big alliances. Again, don't know how real they are, but like I think at this point, the biggest thing is just to not be anyone's number 1 through 4 on the target list, right? Like,
Yeah.
as long as you're comfortable with anyone winning HOH, and I think he is, I think that's kind of where you want to be until
Yeah.
relationships develop, and then you can kind of form those final alliances to get you to the end.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. I disagree. No. Yeah. That
We'll
was just
see.
my initial vibe.
I'll probably be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, take that. Moving on to Chemo. I haven't seen a ton of Chemo. I feel like I don't have a ton of opinions. I thought it was wild how quickly he just outed Quinn's power to Tucker. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I have.
that's definitely the part of the Tucker charm, because Chemo and Tucker are much closer than I think even the episodes are letting on.
Oh yeah.
Um, Chemo's similar, but I think to me, I view Chemo and Joseph similar in the sense of like their positions, but I'm not sure Chemo is doing the best possible move within his position. Where
Mm-hmm.
again, I think this week was probably a net negative for him, just with the power being exposed. I know there was a whole thing with
Yeah.
T-Core not trusting him as much now because she felt like they were really close, and she's like, "Wait, you didn't tell me about Quinn's power, and you were one of 2 people that knew about it." Um, so I don't know. I have hope for him, but I think he might have a little bit of a hill to climb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I buy it. I buy it. Leah. I got nothing for Leah.
Nothing for Leah. I like her. I
No.
think her DRs are really good, and she's fun on the feeds. But um, I feel like her and
Huh.
Mackenzie are like on this island,
Yeah.
and luckily they're blending in with some of this other drama coming up. But if it wasn't for that, I think they would have been probably the next to go after Matt, because that 3-person alliance that everyone kind of pegged was
Mm-hmm.
not a good look
Mm-hmm.
for them
Yeah.
to associate
I
with him.
honestly forgot about that because it was 2 weeks ago. I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, no. And so I think like she's still kind of by association connected to Mackenzie, and by association not in like any big alliance, but it's not horrible because there are bigger threats that are emerging.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Mackenzie, I feel like she just got dealt a tough hand being so connected to Matt early on.
Yeah. No, that's why you
Like
don't do
that
it.
was
That's why you don't do it.
that was like when Angela was like, Mackenzie, you could do so much better, and she was just like, what are you talking about? Like I'm not going for Matt. What do you mean? And that was probably not necessarily true because I think there was something there, but still, it was just tough. It was a tough look.
Yeah, not great.
There's
I
there's
don't
a
know.
couple really young people in here that I didn't realize how young they were.
How old is Mackenzie? Is she young?
22,
That is young. How old is Leah's older though, right?
26.
Well, I mean, I guess to Big Brother's age.
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn is 34. Obviously, Angela's the oldest now, right? Kenny's gone. Gosh, Kenny is just the worst. Do you have any thoughts on? I'll group them together. I don't know, Rubina and Tikor. I think those are two that I don't have much, and I often forget they're on this season. Like those would be the two, along with Cam. Although Cam is like so forgettable that he's now relevant in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. He's the furniture. Rubina has one of those vibes where she's just super loud and like energetic to the point where it's annoying. And so she's just a lot, and I don't want to deal with her a lot of the times. But so it looks like her and Tucker are a thing, so that'll be interesting. T-Core, I also like T-Core because I feel like she's laying super low. I don't know. I feel like I like her vibe, but I don't know if I don't know how much she's really playing the game. You know what I mean? I don't know if she knows what she's doing entirely. I don't know late game if she would like really be able to do much, but yeah, I like T-Core.
I like her accent a lot. I think it's fun.
It's one of the hardest things to like hear, honestly. I love it, but it's just like how I don't understand.
Well, it doesn't ever fit into like she starts to talk and then you get accustomed to it like, oh yeah, she has an accent, but then she'll say like one word and then that single word is like a different accent. And I was like, wait, that's not how that word is supposed to sound with your accent.
You're
So
doing
it's
it wrong.
like right, exactly. Despite in my mind any accent is wrong from the way that I talk, right? Because that's just like how I
Yeah.
But even to that standard, I don't know. I love it though. Cuz what is it? It's like London and Chicago. Those are the two.
Yeah. It feels like she's somebody from either somebody from Chicago trying to do a London accent poorly or vice
Uh-huh.
versa, where it's like somebody
Yeah.
or somebody who's just like trying so hard, but it's really bad.
Yeah, it says hometown, London, Chicago and Atlanta. So those are three distinct sounds.
Throw a couple. Yeah. Golly.
Oh man. All right, well should we draft some players?
Yeah, let's draft some players quick and get out of here.
All
It's a
right.
long episode for people that are listening.
Okay.
How many?
That's a good question. I think Survivor we started to do 5. Survivor has more players and there's also more people out now, so should we not do that?
3. I feel like 3.
Okay, 3 each. How do we decide who goes first?
Pick a number between 1 and 100. I'll pick 1 too. Hold on. All right, I got it.
Wait, why would you pick one and then I
See who's
How do-
closest.
to what?
I got my thing.
Oh, okay, that's what I was I was like there has to be a third neutral number at some
There is.
point. Okay, for those not watching the video, he's got a big wheel of balls that he played
Nice.
B&B with. D&D. I said B&B.
Nailed it.
Okay. My number is 72.
Mine was 87.
Oh, I got better odds then because I got 70 and below, right?
You do. I'm going to mute it so I don't have to listen.
Okay, I will commentate the spinning of the wheel. You're spinning it. I think he has a number. The number is he's still muted, so I'm gonna read it. It's 15. I win.
It's 15.
All right. So I'm going
All right.
to
Do
draft.
you want to go first or do you want to go second and get the second in the snake? Go or get it in the snake.
Do we snake the entire time, or is it just the second pick?
Ooh. I feel like snake the whole time's fine.
Snake the whole time is fine. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll go second then.
All right, cool. I'll take Chelsea.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna take Joseph. I
Yep.
feel like you would have left him, but I don't know.
Yep, I would have.
I'm also okay. So for my next pick, I should have went first. I really should have.
You would have
Gosh,
taken Joseph, who I wasn't gonna take, or you would have taken Chelsea, maybe.
Yeah, well, no. If I would have went first, I should have. But I didn't want to risk you potentially screwing me because I know I was so convincing in my argument why he's gonna win this game. I'm gonna go with Brooklyn. Something there.
I'll take Cedric
Epic.
and
Epic.
I'm gonna follow my heart. I'm gonna go T-Core.
All right. My last one. I'll say chemo. Yeah, I don't love it, but
I don't like any of your picks.
I know you don't.
This
All
is cool.
three
We have
of-
different opinions. This is fun.
All three of my people were people that you were cold on and I had to defend.
Yeah.
So maybe that like subconsciously got me higher on them. I don't know.
Just how I drew it up.
But I had to be true to my heart. Like those are three people I genuinely think are going to do well, so I can't.
And those three are my three favorites, probably. So.
Okay, well, there we go, Big Brother. Anything else in the season? Any predictions? Anything else we need to cover? We did really well.
I'm just
all
coming up.
considering. What's coming up?
Challenge, I think, right?
Dude, I'm really excited for the challenge.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that.
I got to finish watching All Stars 4.
Do you know who wins?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I watched like 5 episodes and then just stopped.
It's a pretty good season. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's much better than the mainline challenge has been in years, so there's that.
We'll see what happens this season. I'm excited, man. This season's going to be fun.
There's a lot riding
hope.
on it. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of pressure because
Yep.
on paper this should be the best season of all time, which is never a good sign to go into with that
Nope.
expectation.
Nope.
Oh man, it breaks my heart that Big Brother can't have a all-star season like that. You know? Like the fact
Yeah.
that like we tried, like we had a modern all-star season and it just I don't know. We got David. Like just think about it. Think in hindsight how
to be
crazy
fair-
that is. No,
to be
no,
fair,
there's no to
we-
be fair. There's no to
We
be
were
fair.
asking for it. I feel like people were asking for him. They were. They were.
The
Was
one,
it foolish? Yes.
the
Was it
one-
poorly done? Yes.
the one time in Big Brother history where they give the fans what they want and that's what they do.
That's a tough look for them.
And now, all they do is remind us of that, saying like, "Oh, remember what you guys wanted? You see, this is why we make our own decisions. See, it was a
Did they
setup.
say that?
I don't know.
Or are you just putting words in their mouth?
That's that's what I think is going through their heads when they don't listen to us because they
Fair.
look at the David situation and they say, "You don't know what you want. We know what you want. You guys can't be trusted." And in that case, we couldn't have been trusted because that was a bad call. Admittedly, bad call on our end.
Hand up. Guilty.
We might have had something to do with that. I don't know. All right.
Let's get out of here.
That's it. For more episodes of Not Game All Personal, that's what it's called. You know where to listen. Spotify, Apple
Look
Podcasts, anywhere
rusty.
you listen to podcasts. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, at NGAPpod, at NGAPpod. I'm Nathan. This is Tony, and we will see you next week.
I usually say something here. 12 seasons, 2 pals, 1 podcast.